Publishing the names of the successful matriculants in the newspapers. The Department of Basic Education has received a proposal to stop the publication of matric results. A report by a ministerial committee on the National Senior Certificate has made a range of recommendations on key concerns relating to matric exams and says the practice of publishing results has unintended consequences. The report also reveals that the extreme embarrassment of candidates who are not successful and are so publicly revealed as failures has resulted in some candidates harming themselves and even committing suicide. According to the report, alternative ways of releasing the results should be explored to avoid the unintended harm amongst the unsuccessful matriculants. Now, to take this issue further, we are now joined by Naazia Ismail, who is the project manager from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG. Good morning to you, Naazia, and welcome to AM.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Now, how does the release of results publicly influence and violate learners' rights in the first place?
Well, as we know, we've all been there. We've all been in that position where we've completed matrics, and sometimes there's so many expectations placed upon us. Expectations that we've put on ourselves, our parents have placed on us, as well as our school and our community. And sometimes, unfortunately, we aren't able to live up to those expectations. And that becomes very private for us because that disappointment, those emotions experienced when seeing your results for the first time is a very private moment that some people feel would be better off shared between them and their close loved ones and not everyone else having access to that information.
Now, in the past years, we've seen students committing suicide based on this format used to release the results. Why is this issue only being taken seriously now?
In the past, a lot of students have felt the pressure of, seeing the matric results not meeting those expectations, and a few of them have unfortunately resorted to those means where they have to, they end up committing suicide. It's good that we've taken notice of, the situation. Notice that, even if it's just one student that is taking negative emotional effect from this, that we need to pay attention to them. So it's a good step in the right direction that we've noticed the impact that the matric results have on our youth and the consequences on their emotional well-being.
Now, let's talk about those consequences, because waiting to see your name on that board can be very exciting because you get up like 1 o'clock in the morning and you rush off to wait for the newspaper and raise the levels of anxiety really at the same time. How does it now contribute then to depression?
Well, we do know that a lot of depression and mental health problems can be triggered by certain stresses in our lives. So whether it's stress related to work, stress related to family problems, or stress related to your school life and the matric results. So because of that, that stress that you take upon yourselves and not meeting your expectations can trigger a mental health problem such as depression.
Is there pressure on government to abolish the system?
I think that a lot of people are recognizing the consequences of having the matric results not only accessible by just the student, but also having that message relayed to them by someone that is personal to them, not just from a newspaper, but from a teacher, from a principal, from their parents, preparing them for the news that they are about to receive. It can go a long way in how they deal with the information and how they process the information as well.
So are you suggesting counseling at the time when the learner arrives at the particular school to find out whether or not he or she failed?
Not even just counseling, just the personal support. In a lot of our schools we don't have access to the counseling, but we do have access to that principal who has guided us, through so many years of studying, through the teacher who's been close to us and has motivated us to achieve, and our parents who have struggled with us through the exams. So having them there to relay those messages will be much better than just seeing it in a newspaper.
What are the positives that could come out of this if the system is abolished, if any?
Well, we do know that, as I said, the support. Children will start receiving the message from someone who is able to prepare them for it, able to show them their different options. If they have failed, okay, what is the next step? Where do I go? They're not leaving them with the message to go straight home to be on their own and then having to relay. Yes, it's not the end of the world. They don't have to relay this information to everyone. Also, they're not feeling so embarrassed by their results because it's not as public. It's quite private between them and their family members. It's more controlled, and they're able to share that information with only the people they feel need to know the information.
Could you describe to us what would go through a child's mind when he or she looks on that board and don't see her name and the friends are all screaming and of excitement because their names are there?
The expectation is huge, and sometimes it's something that a lot of people don't recognize. We think that it's easy to just achieve, but when put under that pressure, some of the students unfortunately don't perform as well as they expect. It can be very disappointing. They can't put on that brave face to now go to the friends who are screaming and shouting and excited and say, you know what, I've actually failed. So it's a very lonely and isolating, emotions that they could experience. And because of that, we do need to monitor it and pay attention and make sure they have the correct support structure, in whichever way they receive this information.
Now, this is a very old-age tradition. What are the chances of the approval of this proposal, and are you supporting it?
SADAG does support, having the matric results released slightly more privately for the students. We don't necessarily recognize a high suicide rate during this time of matric results, because we receive a standard number of calls throughout the year from students who are feeling stressed, who are feeling, depressed or unhappy over them in the upcoming matric results or the exams that they've written. So we do support the initiative just to encourage people, whether it's the principal, the teacher, the parent, to just support the youth more, support these matric students a bit more so that they're able to deal with the information that they're receiving, whether they've done well or they haven't done as well as they expected.
Naazia, your advice to matriculants, matric end-of-year test is around the corner, your advice to those students and even students in general that is going to write exams?
My advice is that you need to set healthy goals. So even though you're receiving all these expectations from everyone around you, know what your situation is, know what you're able to achieve, and make sure you set goals to achieve it. Don't feel like you're alone in this. Even if you don't have support, SADAG is there. If you would like us to help you, to guide you with information, with study schedules, motivation, give us a call on 0800 567 567 and we will be able to help.
And is there a website perhaps?
Yes, there's loads of information on our website and you can visit it on www.sadag.org.
Naazia, thank you so much for coming and joining us here on AM News. Now that's where we got to leave it. That's Naazia Ismail from SADAG, and for more information, once again, you can contact them, SADAG, on 0800 567 567. That is the telephone line. There's also an SMS line, I believe, 31393, that you can SMS and they'll call you back. And the website, of course, is sadag.org.